I am nervous. Yes, I am. What if they don't like me? They won't like me. It'll be fine. It'll be good. Welcome back to the Self-Starter Podcast and now on YouTube. I'm so excited for this brand new journey. Posting the podcast on YouTube, filming videos of me recording. I think it's going to provide much more engaging content for you and to help us reach a wider audience with our educational content. I am so excited you're here. If you're new, my name is Nicole Lauren. I am a wedding photographer and attorney based in South Carolina, and I've had this podcast for a little bit over a year now. It is called the Self-Starter Podcast, and we exist to empower female creative entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, build businesses they love, that support lives that they really are excited about, and build sustainable lives. If you want to learn more about my story, there's going to be more content coming very soon. I actually used to be a full-time attorney, and I'm now a full-time wedding photographer. I still am an attorney, so I do both. It's a very strange mixture, but it is my story, and I hope that it encourages you and inspires you to know that your story doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be traditional in the sense that it has to make sense to everyone. You can just own it and just do whatever the heck you want, honestly. So I am so excited to be here with you in this space, in this new space. If you are an existing podcast listener, I'd love for you to come find us over on YouTube. You can watch the podcast in real time, see my lips actually move while I talk. Maybe my looks might surprise you if you've only listened to my voice thus far, who knows? But I'm really excited to just dive into this topic today. We're going to be talking about why I decided to put my podcast on YouTube and kind of a little bit about my plan for YouTube here in the coming months. So let's get started. The first thing that I wanted to mention is that YouTube is something that I have wanted to do in most of my business. I think it's been 3 years, since 2020 specifically, during the pandemic. I feel like there was a big push into video content and people starting YouTube channels and then also going on to TikTok, obviously. And I have never been a TikTok girly, so I don't know, that whole thing. I probably should get on there, but I'm not. But I've wanted to have a YouTube channel since then, but I just never felt like it was the right time. I always would be hesitant. It's definitely outside of my comfort zone. And I made a couple appearances on IGTV back in the day when that was a thing. And I really liked it, but I just never thought that I could put enough energy and time into a full-fledged YouTube channel. And so my hope for this channel is actually to be more of an experiment, to bring you along and to just see kind of what the heck's going on over here on YouTube. I've heard so many good things about YouTube. I've heard how it helps grow businesses so much. And so we're going to do a little experiment together. Basically, I can be your case study, if you will. So you can learn from my mistakes and see if I grow or how I grow or what I do to grow. And if you're interested in starting your own YouTube channel, then this might be a little bit of inspiration for you as well. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about why specifically I want to put my podcast on YouTube and why you might want to do that if you have a podcast already. I'm also going to talk a little bit about if you don't have a podcast but you're wanting to start one, how you can do so, the equipment that I have, and how you really should do it because it's super easy, way easier than you think it's going to be, and it's a lot less intimidating than you think it's going to be. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the episode. So first, I have about 3 main reasons, some other things thrown in there as well, but the 3 main reasons that I decided to put my podcast on YouTube and why I think YouTube is a great option if you are a podcaster, why you should put your podcast on YouTube as well. So the first one is that, like I said, I just want to test it out. I want to see if there's actually a greater reach here on YouTube. I've heard from so many business owners that YouTube has been the number one way that they've been able to grow their email marketing list, the number one way that they've been able to get leads to their business. YouTube is just so different. It's not necessarily a social media platform. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's more long-form video content. And I feel like videos have a lot longer of a lifespan on YouTube, especially compared to Instagram. Instagram is the shortest lifespan. I also like Pinterest a lot. That's another video for another day. But that is the first reason I want to try out YouTube for my podcast. I just want to test it out, see if there's anything going on here that's worthwhile. And then I also want to report back to you guys and let you know how it's going and be honest. We're all about like peeling back the curtain here and just showing you an inside look at a successful small business and not holding anything back and just letting you literally see every aspect of it, and just letting you know honestly if things are worthwhile or not. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat things around here, and I'm not gonna just give you a bunch of fluff around here. So it is gonna be a little test, if you will. We can both go on this journey together. All right, the second reason I want to put my podcast on YouTube, why I think it's a good idea, is that it'll help me be more planned and provide the absolute best content to my audience. So you'll notice that I'm looking down. You might not have noticed it, hopefully not, but if you're watching the video, you might have noticed that I'm looking down at my outline right here. And normally on the podcast, I don't really create super strict outlines because I want it to be very conversational and I want it to be very engaging. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback from the podcast in the past that it doesn't sound like a podcast. It sounds like more of a conversation with like a friend. And that's like the highest compliment I could ever get. And that's definitely what I want to do. And that's how I want to continue. But that being said, I think our time is very limited. And especially in this day and age, watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, we have a limited time. And even as I consume content myself, I find myself gravitating more towards like 10-minute videos, 15-minute videos that are more bite-sized, that I can actually see a lot more content from different creators over the span of a 1-hour session or whatever, or even like more video content from one specific creator over like an hour session. So I want to make my videos and my podcast just way more bite-sized and a lot more actionable and direct. And so I think that if I have a camera in front of me, obviously, those of you who are listening on the podcast can probably even tell a difference in my voice, but it's going to help me be able to be more succinct. It's also going to encourage me to plan more, to outline more, and to kind of get to the point more, which is great. There's definitely going to be room for those like longer conversations that I love to have on the podcast. Honestly, I love having a podcast because it is such a great way to connect on a deeper level. It's more like a chat, like a conversation, like I said. And so I don't want that to go away, but I definitely want to always make sure that I'm increasing the value that I'm adding to you guys as you're watching or listening. So that is the second reason that I want to put my podcast on YouTube, because I think it's going to help me kind of like hone in on the episodes and make them just even more value-packed for you guys. The third reason that I want to do my podcast on YouTube and put it as a video is to actually repurpose content, which is something that I preach and teach all day long. Repurposing content is the best way to be able to literally market your business super well without having burnout. And here's what I mean by repurposing content. So, and you've probably heard this before, but let's say that I have a podcast, let's say I have a YouTube channel now, let's say that I have a blog, an Instagram account, a Pinterest account, a Facebook account, maybe even a TikTok account. I personally don't, but maybe you do. There's so many different things to keep up with. Oh, and then maybe like an email marketing system. There's just so much to keep up with, and there's so many different things. And I was talking to a creative today, actually, as one of a potential coaching client, and she was talking to me about the pain points in her business and just saying like, I know that there's so much for me to do, but since there is so much for me to do, I just don't want to do anything. And I was like, girl, that is so relatable. There's so many people, literally every single business owner in the world feels that way. And if you don't have a system in place for repurposing content and reusing content, it's a quick way to get burnt out. You don't need to be posting different things every single day. So the way that this looks for my business in particular is that I use a hero content system. So hero content is basically one piece of content that I use each week in my business, and I repurpose it for different platforms and different media. So for instance, what I'm doing right now, this is going to change slightly once I start incorporating YouTube into my business, but what I'm doing right now is I have a podcast that comes out every single Monday, and I have an email that goes out promoting the podcast episode. And I also have the show notes that will launch on my blog, so that comes out on Monday as well. I also like to incorporate, so I'm a photographer, so I also like to incorporate other posts on Instagram that are more photography related because I have two main audiences creatives and education, and then also brides and portrait clients for photography. So I have 2 main clients, and both of my hero content like formats focus on both of those. And so I definitely always want to have an Instagram post maybe each week or every other week, targeted towards my brides and my potential portrait or photography clients, just so I'm not leaving them out. So the hero content, though, is my podcast episode for my creatives. So whatever the topic is for that podcast episode is what the email is going to be about. It's what the blog post is going to be about. It's what my Instagram reel is going to be about. It's going to be what my Pinterest pins are about. I'm going to post it in my Facebook community, and so on and so forth. So this is a great way to just think about simplifying and minimizing your business content that you're like, if you're anything like me, you feel like you have to like pump out so much content all the time. And again, it can feel frustrating. It can feel like you don't have a direction. You don't have enough time to do it all. And quite frankly, you don't. If you're just reinventing the wheel every single time, you're not going to have enough time. That's a quick way to burn out. So, just focus on one piece of content per week and really, really serving your audience and saying, hey, how can I communicate this in multiple ways so I can reach the maximum amount of people? And also knowing that, on Instagram or on emails, not everyone that you send the email to is going to open it. Not everyone that you post, not everyone that's following you is going to see your Instagram post. And so you're not going to be redundant. That's like a fear that I think a lot of people have, is being redundant. But you're not going to be redundant because not everyone sees the content you pushed out. And so if you focus on repurposing it in a value-packed way, it's going to be so, so great. And so that is the last reason why I think putting a podcast on YouTube as a video format is just a great way to repurpose that content and be able to reach even more people. So really excited for this journey. If you're interested in following along on YouTube, I'll leave a link for that in the description. Cannot wait to serve you even better in this space. And now for the last little portion of this episode, I want to talk about starting a podcast. If that's something that you're interested in, I think it's definitely such a great idea. I have gotten so much good feedback from my podcast, and also I've gotten a few clients from my podcast as well. My podcast is not super huge. It's really not. And I still it's one of my favorite things in my business to do. And I also feel like I get a lot of traction, either through search engines or just like people that are actually listening, actually coming to me for business. So it's so, so great. I just want to walk through kind of like the starting equipment that you need. So if you're watching on the video, you're seeing that I have a lovely Blue Yeti microphone here. I've had it for over 3 years. It's been tried and true. It is so, so good. I think I bought it for like $120. Very, very inexpensive compared to a lot of other microphones. You'll notice that I have a black top on the microphone, and that is a kind of like a windscreen so that nothing pops. So like when I say B or P or things like that, or T, it's not like a hard consonant sound. It kind of softens the blow a little bit. And so that's an extra little add-on. But that's pretty much all that I use. And I've gotten several comments. Again, I'm not a huge podcast by any means, but I've gotten several comments about how great the audio quality is on my podcast and how there's not a lot of background noise. So I literally credit it all. It's this little guy right here. It is so, so good. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. I also use GarageBand to edit and record my podcast. Super, super easy. I will link all that down below as well. And then also, if you're interested in knowing about my YouTube setup, it is very, very basic. I will put my little iPhone video in here on the YouTube version. But I took a little pan of my office setup, and I'm very happy with it. I am not a video expert by any means. I'm definitely a photo girl all the way. But I have 2 studio lights, and those are from Amazon. Super inexpensive. I'll leave those linked down below as well. And then I'm also using the Canon M200 lens with just the kit lens that came on it. It is a mirrorless DSLR, so it's a lot smaller than my professional DSLR that I use at weddings. And then I also got the Rode Video Micro microphone. It just goes straight onto the camera, so it's really, really easy. I'll put a video here of that. And I have a windscreen, or a dead cat on there as well, so it helps with like wind. Obviously there's no wind in here, so I really don't need it on there right now. I'm not sure why I have it, but regardless, it's fine. I have my computer set up in front of me, lighting set up behind that, camera set up behind that, and I actually do have a another tripod of my phone is on there, and it's taking a time lapse so I can get some behind the scenes content too. So if you're interested, if this is something that you would love a further, like longer video on, like my YouTube setup, Instagram setup, maybe my workflow for these, how I edit things, definitely leave a comment below. Let me know if you're on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're on the podcast, definitely send me a DM on Instagram, or you can always email me at hello@nicolelarnphotography.com. I love hearing from you guys. But that being said, thank you so much for listening, for watching. I cannot wait to dive into this journey and just take you along with me, and we'll see what happens. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!